Welcome back, troglodytes, to Would You Rock or Not. Today we have a luthier special. Okay, so this thing showed up about 15 hours ago on Reverb, and I shared it on my Facebook page. If you haven't followed my Facebook page, no, it's not like subscribing to here. I don't really post like when I upload videos. It's more so an area where I post good deals that I see, or just other crazy guitars that don't quite make the cut for Rock or Not. For example, there's this awesome deal on this guitar for $400 that one of my followers was able to snag a great deal. So let's go ahead and take a look at this poor abused guitar. The very first thing that I thought when I saw this instrument does not need any type of restoration. All it needs is a bridge tailpiece, pickups, and a selector switch, and you're just good to go. I thought this would have been an interesting review and demo just as is. String it up and let's go. But what's kind of cool here is most of the pieces that are missing are available. Christian said back in his day, puzzles were much cheaper. It also appears to have been hit with a hammer in multiple locations. Looking at some of the features of this instrument, you can tell it's kind of from the early 70s. We're looking at about 1974 here. The truss rod looks like it's in good shape. Who knows if the neck is straight. Usually when somebody goes hammer heavy, they dent up the fretboard for reasons that we'll talk about a little bit later. But thankfully, it doesn't look like you have any of that, so I think the neck is completely salvageable at this point. And seeing as I saw this right as it was listed, it really was tempting to buy, but the only thing that stopped me was this. It looks like there is a small fracture in the neck, and unfortunately, that took me out of the runnings. But thankfully, it doesn't look like there's any major cracks around the typical break areas. So she's a little bit worse for wear, but it's just kind of like vintage weight relief at this point. We've got some buckle rash, but this really just needs parts and to be rocked again. And now for the big question. How does something like this happen? Was somebody really feeling it at a show, doing a Pete Townsend type thing and smashing their guitar? That's what I wanted to believe at first. However, once again, these hammer marks right here usually mean that this is a victim of Guitar Center. There's been a few videos floating around over the years. I think the Guitologist was the one that posted those, where he would dumpster dive and find these instruments. Because essentially what happens, if they get damaged in their way to them, they'll file an insurance claim with the carrier, and once they're reimbursed, they're instructed to destroy them. Now, usually that means further disfiguring them even more than this, if you think that's possible. They'll mash up the frets, they'll break the headstock in half, beat up the body, make it so it's just not worth it for somebody to dumpster dive and rebuild it back to what it is. There was discussion of that on my Facebook page, and I really didn't think about that possibility at first. I'd really like to believe this thing met a better fate than that. And now for the big kicker. It's listed on Reverb at $1,000 firm. Many people seem to be offended by this price point, and I'm kind of in their category. If this was around maybe $300 to $400, I just would have bought it. But I could see somebody paying upwards of $600 for it. Now you might be confused because just a few days ago we looked at this waterlogged 70s Les Paul Custom and I was saying $1,000 was a deal. What's the difference here? That model was super rare, super desirable, and there's a market for player's grade version of those. This is just a regular Les Paul Custom. In good shape, it would bring about $2,800 to $3,500, so once it's all smashed up, not quite as desirable as that one. In the past, I've seen husks of customs sell for around $1,200 with some minor issues. But if you really think about it, there's not that much damage to this guitar. It could easily be restored. But the way I would go about fixing this is just sawing a portion of the guitar off like this and then making it look like a seam line. I don't think that would be too difficult to do, and then you just refinish it as a black beauty. So we'll have to follow this one to see if it ever gets restored and relisted. For today's demo, we will listen to a 1974 Gibson Les Paul Custom. The only question left, is this a puzzle you'd piece back together or not? Leave your answer down in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.